Shall I start? Will again? Yeah. Okay. So thank you all again for coming to this webinar on the Green Paper on Aging. It is organized by the Cost Action Net for Age Friendly. And it is, of course, because as most of you know, we have a very interesting paper on the Aging Through the Life course that was recently published by the Commission. It's open for public consultation, and actually over all of the conception of the paper, as I think our speaker will tell us in a brief moment, a lot of the same concepts that we have underlying SHAFE and Net4 are very present there. But this is also the time for you to go through it and provide your comments and inputs, because then they can help to shape the policies further. And this is, of course, a big part of our work as well. So what we intend to do today is to have the possibility of having one of the people that was involved in the writing presenting the paper, and then opening the floor for questions that can help you organize also what you are going to report in the public consultation. So for that end, I would like to introduce and thank in advance to our speaker today, which is Irina Calderon. She's a policy officer in the European Commission. Possibly a lot of you remember and have already been with her, because she was the officer after Horst Kramer. She was the officer accompanying Group B4, Age-Friendly Cities, Communities and Environments, and she was present in several of the meetings with probably many of you as well. This is also why it is a pleasure to have you here, Irina, today, and to also have you presenting this green paper on aging, because we already know that age-friendly environments is something that you foster and promote, and it will be very good also to understand with you how we can provide our inputs and contributions into this framework. So from my side, this would be it. If you agree, I would pass you the floor, and looking forward to this presentation, and thanking you again a lot for being with us today.
Thank you, Karina, and thank you all for having me here this morning. I hope you're all doing well and in good health. Yes, so I think that I would start with the presentation immediately, so that we could go to the really interesting part, which is the Q&As. Let me start with this one. And are you saying it correctly now?
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. So the green paper on aging was published. Yeah, that's okay. Was published on the 27th of January this year. And in fact, it opened a public consultation, which Karina put in the chat, the link to. And this public consultation will be open until the 21st of April, so still another month to go. It is the first green paper of the Commission, and invites EU citizens and organizations and member states to discuss a wide range of policy options that can help address the challenges that are related to this process of our aging European society. So the Green Paper builds on the Commission report on the impact of demographic change, which was published last June. And the report sets out quite a lot of facts and figures about demographic change in all regions of the European Union. And there are some very important figures that really strike the need to take policy actions, such as, of course, that we are aging, but while this could be reflected as an achievement of our welfare and healthcare systems. It is also, of course, a reason for growing concerns for the burden that it would represent to the working population, but also to long-term care, for example. And it is interesting to see, of course, that the life expectancy at birth has increased by more or less 10 years for both men and women in the last 5 decades. And this is a big achievement. But it also means that the median age of our population is currently at 42.5 years, while in other places in the world, for example, in the youngest continent, Africa, it is less than 20. So these changes are going to be even bigger in 50 years from now. It is also good to understand that it is the working age which is shrinking most rapidly. The 65 plus population is expected to represent more than 30% of the population by 2070, and those above 80 more than 13%. So this is a major change, and it is one which, if I may say, is not expected to change significantly. So we should accept it and change our policies and the way our health and care systems, but also social systems, and also, I would say, our cultural understanding of aging is often represented today. So the working age population has already started to shrink around 10 years ago, and it will continue so, and is projected to fall a lot by more than 18% by 2070. So here comes a big, let's say, challenge of how to ensure sustainable growth as well, and anything linked to economic prosperity. One of the other findings of the report on demographic change is also the very, very present depopulation of rural areas where mostly younger people live for more urban places and leave behind them regions without enough prospects for growth, but also without very often good services, whether those are health or social or education services. And here, of course, digital technologies could play a very important role in providing those services, but then evidence shows that most member states still lag behind when it comes to really good connectivity and broadband. So while the potential is there to supply good services, this is not yet the case in most regions. So what is the Green Paper actually trying to really promote and also to make, in a way, a paradigm shift, which is something that is not new, I think, for most of you, but it is a concept which now should be made public, and policies should be really designed to reply to these challenges. It is that we have to look at this aging process, which we are all going through every day of our lives, as something very normal, something that it is not a disease. And in fact, many people, as they age in very good health, take care of themselves. The generation of people retiring today is very different from the one 50 years ago. So this is a potential that has to be used and for the prosperity of everybody. The life cycle approach takes, in a way, a direction in 4 different periods of our lives, where we and policymakers and member states have to design policies to make sure that people start to think about their health proactively, about active aging from very early on. This means to make the best that we have in our formative years related to lifelong learning, to using, for example, digital technologies from early on to stimulate, for example, healthy nutrition, or to take care of some chronic conditions as diabetes or other situations, and to promote also digital skills for all young people. It goes on to continue to our working age, where our labor markets also need a shift. And also when it comes to productivity and innovation for the sphere of active aging, it is also a very big opportunity for the health tech to increase the development of technologies for healthy lives. And especially the third part, when we retire, there is a need to rethink how people could remain active, healthy, and active and healthy human beings that could continue to either work in their field or open a second, third career, which they have always dreamed of, that they could be given the opportunity to pass on their knowledge to the younger generation and improve intergenerational relations, and also to promote lifelong learning at this stage of life. The fourth part, when we are actually all very old and we need more assisting and care, is a moment where healthcare, long-term care, and other sectors have to go through big changes. Yes, so if we go a little bit more in deep into each stage, promoting skills, healthy and active lives, promoting also very good habits for people from early on, but also the use of technologies and lifelong learning are very important. Why is this important? Because in fact, if we have a better education, we often are living healthier and better lives. As you can see from the slides, they show that those 80% among those with high education have good health in comparison to those that have lower education and consider their health to be in a poorer condition. Yes, I think I would skip that. When we reach our active life at work, there are, of course, very various challenges that are still ahead of us. Those are also to reach equality, gender equality, which is in many sectors still not the case, which would allow for more people to come into the workforce and be active participants in the social and economic life. It is also a stage where there are many opportunities for innovations and business, and to improve the overall productivity and sustainability of our economy. Also, it means to bring more older adults to the working market, because as you can see from the slides, the employment rate among older workers in the EU is much lower than for younger ones, while very often older people have much more experience and knowledge that could contribute very much to the productivity and growth of our economies. When we reach retirement age, there are a lot of different opportunities. While some might want to continue in their working lives, or to have, for example, more time to develop their long-lasting passion for music or writing or any other thing that they love. It is important, nevertheless, to keep in mind that staying active and having good health and well-being is very important. And this is, of course, an open challenge for the adequacy, affordability, and sustainability of pension systems, because with time and with the shrinking population of the European Union, then we would need to assess how these pension systems that we know today are going to really able to address this challenge. In this slide, you could see the old age dependency ratio today, and also the start of old age in 2040, which keeps the projected old age dependency ratio constant per member states. And this means, of course, that we would be in 20 years facing a serious challenge on how to sustain the current system. Once we are very old, as I said before, there are many different ways to address health and long-term care. You are much more better placed than me to know about all the different technologies, digital technologies or medical devices, or adapted, smart, healthy, age-friendly environments, or communities or cities that could really contribute to better well-being and health of the aging population. Of course, let's not forget that remote and rural regions will face even more acute problems because they typically face challenges in terms of quality and scale of the services which are provided to them. And this slide, I think, speaks for itself. It shows the number of people potentially in need of long-term care, which is going to increase by more than 50% in the coming 30 years. So the healthcare infrastructure, whether related to technological progress and changes in the provision of services and therapies for more community care-based care, and for the use of more digital technologies in order to allow for people to age independently and decrease, for example, the need for hospitalization or for visits would be very important. Yes, it would be, of course, also important to make sure that we promote intergenerational solidarity because it is an element which is continuously decreasing today, meaning that very often young generations live quite far away from their grandpas and grandmothers, while those could be both these generations could benefit from having more active relationships. Older people should be encouraged and given the possibility to have also more interactions with children, for example, and to promote this, but also, of course, for them to promote that all generations could live together and design communities, design buildings and cities that would promote this solidarity. Now, I have tried to quickly summarize maybe some of the challenges related to aging with digital technologies that could be interesting for us to discuss as well. And while there are many different health chronic conditions which prevail in people of age 50 plus, such as high cholesterol, heart diseases, mental illness, isolation, diabetes, arthritis, back problems, and asthma, that very often could be supported by use of also of digital technologies, and for people to independently help themselves and take care of themselves. This is still a big challenge because the really big challenge that we face is the lack of uptake of those innovations in regions and in all EU member states, and also to the population which, for example, has a lower educational level. I think that I have finished my slides, so I would be very happy to discuss with you if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irina, for sharing this with us. Possibly you're not being able to look at the chat, but yes, I think we already have a number of questions there, and for sure many more from the other attendants. So if you agree, I would go in the same order as they were in the chat, and ask if the people will place the comments there want to bring up and discuss. I think there was an initial one from Lucy Vidivikova and Liz Mestenos. Do you want to ask to Irina the question that, or the comment that you are placing in the chat.
Thank you very much, and good morning from Czech Republic. Great presentation, and of course I very much welcome all the initiative and the public consultation that's also wrapped around it. My maybe 1 or 2 points is that we always start with the demography, and that's kind of understandable, but we see the demography, it's not the main point. I mean, we've seen the best, not best, the worst, I'm speaking like our prime minister, we are best in COVID, unfortunately. But the worst financial crisis and also the health crisis while we are still demographically very young. So there is a lot of issues, especially looking into the future, that should be probably taken account or said in the one sentence, saying the population is aging and the labor market is aging, is changing. And we should talk about the work productivity, and we should talk about digitalization, automatization changes in the labor market, and where we do put our money, where our preferences for making the budgets for the states, and I believe these are the things that will help tackle the aging challenges, if you want to say. And I think that other big issue in this is that we sometimes are talking about future aging populations, looking at today's older people, and these are two very, very different groups. I mean, there's a lot of within the groups, but also we should not look at the problems of today's older people and expect they will be the same in 30, 40, 50 years of time. So these are two, I believe, important points to be risen also with all these, jobless growth and of course climate crisis and all other things that are evading us in the future, unfortunately, and will of course affect also this issue. So these are the points I wanted to kind of raise in the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for raising them. I use the opportunity also to invite you to please fill in the public consultation. I think that I was not maybe so insisting on that. The public consultation has 17 questions. I have myself filled it in some days ago. It takes 20 minutes of your time, but it is extremely important because all the ideas you might have and all the concepts and solutions that you might have would be very useful if they are there, because the Commission needs this input and to design policies and co-design them. Now, for the issues that you raised, so I take it as an open discussion with everybody. Of course, there is an issue of productivity, and this is much, much larger than just demographic change. And also, as you said, automatization of labor is also a big challenge, and people being afraid of being, for example, replaced by machines is a growing concern. So there are sectors where this could become a reality, and sectors where those digital technologies could play, let's say, a welcome assisting role, especially when it comes to healthcare, for example. But of course, this is a challenge that is also for the fact that we as a continent, and now I go a little bit further away from this particular green paper, but we as a continent are facing in the last decades less and less productivity, and many of our industries have moved, for example, to other continents for cheaper gains. But at the end, we are going to remain without a strong industry if this is continued further. So indeed, challenges are much greater and bigger than this particular demographic challenge. But I invite you sincerely to suggest also your solutions in this public consultation, and also put your concerns there. when it comes to the fact that we are, of course, we are aging, and I see myself as those that in 50 years would be above, above 80, in fact. But indeed, we are all aging, but we are very, let's say, digitally skilled, and also this is a challenge when we in the Commission face those different technologies and tools that are developed by people like you, for example, that yes, of course, we could see ourselves using them when we age because we are so literate, but most of the older people today are not. So, of course, today's older people, I think that there are particular policies that could be taken to improve their health and well-being, and those that would be designed for us when we age should be already designed today. And I think that, yeah. But of course, if anyone else has another comment on that, I think that please feel free to.
Yeah, we have 2 raised hands and several comments in the chat. So let me try to do this chronologically, if you agree, as long as you say, Irina, that you will answer everyone. So I will go then just to one comment that is related to what you were saying now regarding literacy and co-design, and then go to Blanca and to Marit, okay? So there are 3 comments actually connected to this. One says that the paper talks a lot about digital innovations, but there seems to be an assumption that older people are digitally literate, which you already clarified. But is there, within the paper's question, something to address this? And then Roxana also comments on how the user-centered design is approached in terms of policy recommendation, bearing in mind that there are still many senior people lacking skills in using technology. And also there is another comment, which I now lost, from Marit, sorry, that is now raising her hand, talking about how the green paper looks at technology through the lens of the older person. So we understand all that she said, that this is acknowledged. Maybe the main question is, how is it addressed? Or is this something that we should all reply to as part of our consultation? How do you think this can be addressed?
Well, the answer is the second, of course. You should indeed all reply to, because in fact, the green paper does not give any policy recommendations. The green paper opens a debate, it puts the challenges out, and it asks for solutions and ideas from researchers, from people who are competent or interested in this issue, to suggest any solutions. So it is really not a policy recommendation as such. However, technology is very much addressed throughout the whole green paper. So in all these 4 chapters that are the main chapters of the green paper, technology is all over. Why? Obviously, because we are going through this digital transition. Also, when it comes to the actions of the Commission itself, in the coming 7 years of multi-annual financial framework, the investment in digitalization and digital is very, very high. So this is really the time to use this momentum and to design the relative steps to use it. Of course, if I remember correctly, the notion itself of co-creating digital tools when it comes to designing them is not explicitly mentioned in the green paper, but you are invited to insist on it in your replies, because it is obvious that it is very important. And I say it from this helicopter view that people like me have in our unit of there is a big difference from projects which manage to have some success and to be used after they are created and produced, and those that are not. And the main difference lays with the fact that they have been co-created from the beginning with the end users. So definitely this is very important.
Okay, thank you. So I will probably pass the floor to Blanca. Let me just acknowledge that in the chat there are two comments connected to employment from Willaka and Bettina. I will go to these later, maybe not to lose the momentum on this discussion, and also some comments on literacy and also on the way that younger people should be also trained for this, and how this less siloed approach of the Green Paper could be of interest. If you agree, I will go through the three hands raised and then go back to these comments also from Paco and Rihanna. So Blanca, do you want to speak, please?
Yes, thank you. Then thank you very much, Irina, for your nice presentation. I think it was a good summary, and to go through this paper that of course is really important. And just two comments, briefly comments. One, I was a bit stuck that there was not anything regarding all the adults' human rights. You just said that there was not policy recommendations, but terms like ageism, also you have all the idea of full potential, that it is, of course, highlighted by all these aspects that working, the life learning, love, I mean, it is behind, but after having all these dramatic situations, events in nursing homes after COVID-19, etc. Also, all this idea of digital divide that is certain it's going to be shortened, but we don't know how technology are going to develop. Even us, that you said that you in the Commission, of course, you are more used to accustomed of using new technology, and even us. But even though I think if we get older, if we get a bit disconnected, let's say from work, I mean, technology can change a lot. We cannot imagine. And if we, from the social sciences, don't say which type of technology we like, and also all the ethical aspects you say, I think it would be important. There are many challenges in this regard about human rights, and I mean, the baby boomers are going to age, I mean, as you presented the figures. So I think it's important somehow reflect all these human rights and dignity for all the adults, because I think we are going to face this in the years to come in many aspects, and we already have seen the precarity of certain systems and how this has evolved in dramatic figures of toll of death in the infections in the pandemic, no? So I think this, and then I would like, because you referred to co-creation, just to mention that we just finished a project, an Age 2020 project on digital co-creation, and I will be happy to comment on the green paper. And of course, where the quadruple helix approach methodology involved, so we involve all the adults and all stakeholders that are in long-term care, so as to develop digital services in an agile and fast way, and adapting to the emerging needs, no? And also, so I think it could be interesting, this idea of more engagement with the citizenship, because when these ideas of intergenerational relationships, also the community and how citizenships need to be involved about this need of care and be more proactive in this sense. So I think co-creation is a way, as we need to get used to participate in debates at the administrative level, or EU or regional or national level. And
well, thank you so much for your comments, and in fact the human rights are very much present. It might be that I did not address this in my presentation, but of course the issue of ageism is a big issue, and when we talk about the labor market, we know that from our own experience, but we know that also from statistics that people above certain age get to be recruited much less than their younger peers. And of course, this is a challenge, I think, that is still there. I think that with the understanding that our society is going to predominantly change, and 1/3 of its part would be older or aging, I think that this could also lead to a change of perspectives, also because there are so many people at above 60 or 65 who are just perfectly fit and with great cognitive capacities today as role models for our younger generation. So in fact, I think that there is a change already starting, but the Commission has also taken some steps. You might have also read that the German presidency adopted Council conclusions on human rights in times of digitalization. And apart from improving digital skills, etc., it really puts the point on that also people who are digitally excluded, are not capable to use them, should be provided with the same services and possibility to be active citizens and to receive the same health and care provision as their other more digitally capable peers. Yeah, I think that's it. But I'm happy to hear about your project. Yes.
Okay, Socatel. Have introduced the publicity.
Yeah. No
Okay,
problem.
Thank you. I'll write it down.
Yeah.
Thank you, Blanca. Mari, do you want to go on? I think you were the second to raise the hand.
Thank you, Elle, and thank you, Irina, for the presentation. I am going to raise the whole issue of the digital divide. As the Age Friendly Coordinator in Louth County Council, I have been working with the Voice of Older People since 2008. And I believe the digital divide, and I challenge your assumption earlier made, I believe the digital divide will remain with us no matter what generation we're talking about into the future. Because the technology will always grow faster than the human brain can keep going with as the brain ages. And I think when we're going to the first person that asked a question is very much right when she says that the older people will look different in 50 years' time, and the environment that older people live in will look different in 50 years' time. So we are going through a paradigm shift, whether it's related to climate change, whether it's related to employment for older people. People will have to use technology to stay connected with whatever part of their lives they need to interact with society. And I think that the Green Paper needs a conversation around how older people feel about that and how older people can engage in the conversation. And I think nothing more than COVID has raised the bar in terms of how we have seen older people pushed into, I suppose, the use of technology at an exponential rate. And some of them are just not using it. Some of them are trying to use it, and some of them are quite well capable of using it. And we have to see those three different cohorts of people. And we have to see it through the lens of the older person. And we have to see it, and if we need to rectify it, we need, as whether we're in the public service, the private service, or the NGO service, we need to look at our service through the lens of the older person. And I do believe that it takes more than the service to actually make technology accessible. It takes their family, it takes their community, it takes the support bubble that we talk about in COVID to actually make this help. So we need, in terms, just giving one example, just in terms of health, we need GPs to be relating to people on how to use technology, not just to say use it. We need them to show their patients how to use it. We need carers to be able to engage part of the time they're in their house, caring for people, to help older people with technology, whether it be to connect to family or friends, or whether it be to connect to a service. And if we expect people to work longer in Europe to allow us to cater for the aging demographic, we need to upskill people through the generations on technology so that they are more digitally skilled as they age. And I think that's crucially important. And finally, I think that if we don't take the lessons that COVID has taught us over the past 12 months and engage it somewhere in the conversation in the Green Paper, we have missed out on a huge amount of learning. And I think that's critical. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for this intervention. In fact, of course, I agree with it completely, and in fact, it is a valuable one. And I would again repeat and invite you to please insert all these ideas and concerns and solutions that you have in the public consultation. Maybe just to reflect on what you said, there are different, as you said, ranks of older people, whether they could use digital technologies a little bit or not at all, or quite capable of. And of course, COVID has made changes. I think that those changes are, however, going quite quick. So I tend to be really positive, because many older people have started using, for example, platforms where they are encouraged to make exercises at home. There are many different ways where older people are just now starting or widening their trust in those technologies, in internet, and how it could be helpful for them, and really interact with it. I agree with you that the debate should be with older people. I am not sure that in this sense, this public consultation would be capable to achieve this, because again, it is online and there is no paper to fill in. There is no consultation that is sent to member states and that they can fill it in paper. So in fact, I think that here it is a very good point.
Maybe, sorry, this goes a little bit exactly with what Marit was saying, and we can, as family members, as caregivers, etc., we can also bring in some of the people who are not necessarily only older, but people that are less digitally literate, and help them to fill in and do our role as citizens, or as any other type of stakeholder, I would say. I don't know if this would maybe help. This can be.
That's an excellent idea, and also maybe brings me to the second point that you raised, Marit, about empowering the caregivers, the informal caregivers, because we all know that informal caregivers are very often not compensated in some material way about the effort and time that they spend on caring for an older person. So in this respect, empowering older people, but also designing an adequate system which helps to compensate them in some way for this effort should be made. So I really invite you to write this, to put it in written. Yeah.
Thank you. Liz, can I ask you for your comment, because we also have still 4 questions to ask from
right.
the chat.
It is a question I think you're asking. Let me just say that my background is 30 years in this field, so it's a long time. Our Age Platform Europe, which has got 100 membership organizations, is preparing a collective response. We, as Greece, are preparing one from us as 50+, but we're actually trying to get other organizations who have some opinions to at least fill in the public consultation or to express their views through us. And I say that to the other 3 or 4 Greeks sitting there listening in. So we're very happy to be actually participating. And why am I here? Well, one, I have a question. What are we doing here as COS? Why am I on this meeting? And that is a question to you. In other words, what are we going to do with this meeting? What is the particular recommendations that are coming out of this particular group? Not generally, I'm doing my stuff elsewhere. Just to say something else about the EU, we're a bit ahead of many countries in terms of thinking about the human rights and the situation of aging. But after all, aging is happening pretty much worldwide at a much slower pace. It's not unique. And we are going to be going to the United, we are working at UN level and trying to talk about a convention for the rights of older people. But already there is a discussion about the rights to digital technology. In other words, even that, the fact of up till now, in one sense, having to pay for it, having to be excluded, not having education to use it, is already now being considered like an adequate income as something becoming a human right, a right to have digital learning and digital access. And this is just to finish off with this one point. We are going to go on reproducing these problems forever. Why? As long as socioeconomic inequalities are such that they have repercussions for the rest of people's lives in the terms of the jobs they do, the incomes they do, and so on. We have hundreds of problems. And so because I could talk about each and one of them, I'm not going to. I just want to simply say, what are we sitting here for? I didn't have to come on this meeting. So my question is, why am I on this cost meeting or this net for age? Are we doing something on that? So actually, I'm throwing it back to you, Karina.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Liz. I actually think I answered this in the chat a little time ago, saying that the main idea why we raised this, first of all, was also to understand how our members, partners, colleagues, groups that go around Net for Age and SHAPE were thinking about this, and then seeing all these inputs, I think that we should discuss a constructive answer, despite any others that we are doing, because we are also doing others with other organizations. But I think we have more than space for this, more than content for this, and for sure we are going to grab all the questions that were raised and put something together and consult with everyone to provide an answer on behalf of Net for Age and SHAPE. We have almost 75 people here, so a lot of inputs. I think it's worth collecting them. Yeah, indeed. Thank you.
Can I also say something? First of all, thanks a lot for your intervention. Also, because it really is, I'm very happy to hear that there would be a collective reply from Age Platform. That's very good, but please bear in mind that the limit of words is 2,500, I think, and something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And in fact, while I was filling in my own contribution, I could fill it in quite well myself, and I think that I am only one person. So happy that there are collective replies from organizations. That's very welcome, and that's one of the missions. But also, please feel free to fill it in yourself as a person, as a citizen, as a representative of no matter what organization or institution. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Can I go very quickly to some pending questions, maybe? There are maybe two comments that go before from Paco and Bettina that meant, if I understood them correctly, but please feel free to jump in if you wish, to also address the people of other ages, not necessarily all older people, but the training and education of younger people of different ages and different conditions that are still maybe a little bit apart from the digital world, or that even if they participate, and I can say this from many people that I know, and even youngsters, they are happy to be in the digital world to play, but that doesn't mean that they have other types of literacy to actively participate in citizenship. So this is maybe a different layer of it. So, as I say, please feel free to jump in, Paco or Bettina, if you want, but I think this is also something that we may have reason to address somehow.
Yeah.
The other comment, well, two comments maybe that are also interconnected. One was very recent, and it means to say that perhaps age-friendly environments, or at least inclusive environments, the built environments, are not a part or a distinctive part of this paper. If this is worth also to be discussed and brought into the paper. And also connected to this, I think, the question of working, well, of the green paper having 4 areas and feeling this a little bit as silos. This was a comment from Fianna Tsaku, and she was saying that maybe we should stress a bit more the concept of evolution and continuously changing needs, as well as concepts of continuous adaptability and personalization of environments, including working environments and others, to the evolving needs of adults. So this goes maybe in line with all of this, like how to do this, not just long life approach, but holistic approach on all perspectives.
This is a very good point, and just also to mention that in fact age-friendly environments are mentioned in the paper. There is 2 specific places where they are mentioned, and also adaptive environments for the working and aging workers. And really the need also to think about better living environments and working environments for people. This is already there as a suggestion of what could be done. Of course, feel free to make larger input yourselves. I would maybe want to mention that recently the Commission launched, and actually it is not even the Commission, but the President, Ursula von der Leyen, launched this new European Bauhaus initiative, which is very related. It has 3 different strands on how to improve our living environments. One of them is on aesthetical level, but the others are really on improving our well-being and to design them better and to make it more inclusive and more innovative. And I think that there would be different actions from us as a Commission coming out of this initiative, but the understanding that there is a need to adapt our living stock is there, and I think that it is a good time to give very precise and really clear solutions and ideas when you reply to this public consultation.
Thank you. I think this is a connection that Net4Age will also do with the initiative, and we hope we can also host some kind of shared webinar or session where we can discuss this. So I think that's a very good suggestion. Thank you. Well, we are already 2 minutes over time, so I would just say that we also had some questions and comments regarding if in the employment rates of older adults you are also including self-employed and if poverty in age due to breaks within employment is also being considered, especially in women. So I don't know if you have any answer to this.
No, to be honest, the employment rates, of course, and also today especially, so the older adults of today especially face this very big inequality when it comes to their pensions. There is a prospect that this would not be the case in 20 or 30 years, but indeed today's older people face a lot of inequality in their incomes because of the breaks in their working lives, as you said, or lack of working life also. This is acknowledged in the Green Paper. I am not sure that I am able to provide any specific answer on that, given my competence on the file, but feel free also to raise your concerns and to maybe suggest also solutions. Yeah.
Thank you, Irina. I think we need to wrap up. I think we could be here discussing for a lot more time, but I think we need to wrap up. I thank you in advance so much for your availability to present, but even more to be discussing this with you, as I think we understood a lot of us have several ideas to put in. So for sure, a lot of us will do it individually, but we will also trigger the mechanism to provide an answer from our group as well. And we hope that we can help to improve and provide some extra contributions on some of the areas. And I know for sure that they will be considered. So thank you.
Yes, and thank you so much for organizing this. As I said, this is really the best part of my my working life, to have these exchanges with you and with other partners and people. So yeah.
Thank you, Irina. I see a hand raised, but I think we need to say bye-bye. So please, Blanca, if you want to say something in 2 seconds.
No, it's just closing. It's just closing.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you very much to all of you, and especially to you both.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, and just to say, please feel free if you have any specific question or something to raise. My address, my email address, you could write to it. It's only my name, so it should be easy to find it. So feel free to write. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. This video and the presentation will be available in the website, so you can go back and take any comments if you wish. Thank you so much, then, and bye-bye. Enjoy the day.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.